Hey everyone, I'm Rachel Brooke Smith and I am here with the lovely Dr. Remina. And today I'm really excited to dive into another deep dive into my health journey, but also your health journey. And what me and Dr. Remina are working really hard together to do is sharing my health journey and all the things I'm going through, healing thyroid and autoimmune and all different kinds of issues of painful cycles when it comes to mood swings and mental fog and weight gain and all that stuff to help anyone else that might be going through that. And so, Dr. Remina, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. I am super excited to dive in today,
Me
talk
too.
about your journey, and help
Mhm.
everyone else who's listening.
Yeah, so if anyone is tuning in right now, make sure and comment below. We'd love to know where you're joining in from. And if you have any specific questions for us about your health journey, because we're here to help and support you on this journey as well, because it's very confusing out there. And we're trying to make it a lot less confusing by taking my specific journey. And Dr. Mina, already from our last call, and you guys, if you haven't heard our last call, go back and watch it. It's so powerful. But what she recommended after going through my specific biomarkers and my symptoms I was having was an AIP protocol. So that's specifically eating for autoimmune, right? To help heal autoimmune stuff, which I have. And I can't even tell you how much better I feel, even after just like a week of eating this way. Like my body feels like it's turned on again. And it's something that like literally makes me emotional because I feel like I've struggled for so long, like so long, trying all these different supplements and different kind of diets or fast, like intense fasting or intense workouts, and just feeling overwhelmed and frustrated and like almost wanting to give up hope. And after I found you and we started working together, and that like one recommendation based off of my the things I had shared with you, it's like holy crap, like wow. So I just want to share that with anyone else that might be experiencing the same. Like if you felt lost or confused or frustrated or tried a bunch of things and it wasn't working, you come to the right place because I think we have some real, I don't know, I feel like I've experienced some like real shifts, like real shifts where I have so much more energy now, so much more clarity, so much more just overall just feeling like again turned on in my body, a feeling I think I've missed for so long. Something I knew I could have, but I couldn't figure it out. And so just thank you. Thank you for recommending that. And thank you for the work that you've done to be able to take all my stuff and recommend that.
Oh, of course, you're so welcome. And I think this also highlights such an important point. I want to tease with the language with the low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
Lifestyle has such a big impact. And as we dive in, these are key takeaway points that anyone could go start today.
Yeah.
And even to go further, before we started jumping on this, sometimes people don't know if they think they're doing healthy things, whether it's the way you exercise with eating healthy foods per se, but they may not be what your body needs at this point of time. And so there's so many options. Working with the right person, knowing what your body needs in this space and time, so important. And we're going to highlight that.
No, we have to highlight that. I think what we talked about before we jumped on that I'm just so passionate about is helping people understand something that I feel like I really deeply understand now is the power of when. That I think a lot of our society just doesn't talk about or understand, especially if you are a female with a cycle, and or just on any chapter of life, because every chapter of life requires a different version of you and maybe different things. And so for me, like I was eating a bunch of healthy nut butters and nuts, thinking that that was a healthy choice for me. But given what I had based off of your direct recommendation on the AIP protocol, because nuts can be more inflammatory, especially if you have gut issues, which are usually linked to autoimmune. I mean, I've taken them out and I feel drastically better. Same thing with grass fed butter. There's a lot of great stuff about grass fed butter. But for me right now, maybe it's obviously not very good because when I took it out, I feel so much better. And so just anything that you might be doing, it might be that yes, that thing is healthy, but maybe not for you right now. Dr. Mia, can you talk a little bit more about that and just help people who are listening maybe understand a little bit more about the AIP protocol and what it is and who it's for? and just anyone that might be really interested. I'm like, oh, maybe I should try this.
Yeah, definitely. And let's take it a step back so then people understand
Mm-hmm.
scientifically what's going on and why it's recommended.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more data coming across about the gut-brain axis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you tie together maybe mental health or just mood or just shifts in your body, just physiologically, just everything in general, gut-brain axis is a real connection.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the big institutions like Harvard and Johns Hopkins are coming out with that data. So
Uh,
national medicine is showing finally, after a while, that, hey, this is a real phenomenon.
yeah.
Well, the key of this, the importance of this, yes, gut-brain axis, meaning if one is inflamed, the other's inflamed because it goes bi-directionally, right? And this is important. Let's start with the gut, right? Because a lot of stuff starts in the gut. Healthy gut, your intestines have like a barrier. It should be
Good.
pretty tight junctions. And it allows food to pass certain nutrients, right? So you can absorb all the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
Where this becomes a problem is sometimes these junctions become leaky. And then
Mm-hmm.
it starts passing through foods and particles that shouldn't be there. So, for instance, what's the cause of it, right? There's so much that causes this leaky junction, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
it stress based off of lifestyle? Emotional, physical? Is it the food you're eating that your body's interpreting it's foreign and it's inflamed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if it's inflamed, the food that you think that's healthy, right? Be it maybe you think it's like dairy or maybe it's like healthy, let's say other nuts or eggs or just anything, right?
Or even like yogurts. Like I
Or
was
even
eating,
yogurt.
yeah,
Yeah.
like A1, A2 grass-fed,
Yeah.
grass-finished yogurt, thinking like I am eating healthy.
Exactly, exactly. Well, your body is in the stage where it's inflamed. And so the more you eat it, it causes this leaky gut. And then when it passes through these substances, your body's defense system kicks in. And so it starts attacking it, right? And so they develop, it's called autoimmune mimicry, right? Big fancy term just saying that your body's attacking itself and it forms these defense particles and it can deposit anywhere in your body. So if those of you that may feel aches and pains, maybe after a few days after eating these potentially healthy foods that are triggers to your body. Maybe you feel it in your joint, maybe you feel it on your skin, maybe it's triggering your thyroid dysfunction, right? There's so many places in your whole body it connects. And again, it can also inflame your brain because it can connect, right? So this is how it's central to your body and how it causes an inflammatory reaction. Now,
Mm, so good.
there's like a couple of things you could do. And if specifically you have some sort of inflammation. And so for you, we knew it was thyroid, but then we also saw these inflammatory markers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we know a lot of times when you think about autoimmune, be it there's so many conditions, maybe arthritis or maybe rheumatoid arthritis or just celiac disease or supposed celiac disease, right? It
Or for
becomes
me, it was more like the hypothyroid Hashimoto's.
Hashimoto's, exactly. So for you, your flavor was a thyroid disorder, right? Different flavors. But the root comes into there's something causing that inflammation, right? And so what are things you could start today, which you did, right? You
Yes.
were already eating pretty clean, but some of the most triggers when you normally do an elimination diet, right? So there's different types of protocols, different foods. And I'm not talking about fancy like, oh, I'm going to do keto, I'm going to do paleo or
Mm-hmm.
vegan, right? It goes deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
There's medical food plans, if you want to say, right? But
Yes.
a lot of times when you have inflammation or gut issues, you start basically with an elimination diet, right? So AIP takes it a step further. So essentially, a little review with the top three common intolerances, right? And if you notice, when you go overseas, you can tolerate these better, is because of the way we process foods here. So gluten, wheat, right? Dairy and eggs. Those are the common factors that trigger a response and cause gut issues and etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
Autoimmune protocol takes it a step further. So when you look at a lot of these common causes, most of the time gluten is the culprit. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're inflamed, and so for you, Rachel, you were eating healthy, right? But your
Yeah,
body,
I wasn't really eating gluten or
yes,
that I knew of
yeah,
anyways. Like we talked about going out to eat, maybe I wasn't as strict. So it was really I think it was also getting really honest with myself of I am having aches and pains. I am really tired and fatigued. I am having really painful cycles. Like my body is holding on to weight I know that it doesn't really need. I think before, especially if you are a person like me who has gone on all different kinds of health chapters and tried different diets. And I love that you said this isn't like a fad diet, because I think that's something I've had to really learn how to reframe, because most of my life I did do all the fad diets, but I was like, oh, it's not a fad diet. Like keto is really this healthy for you because it's scientifically proven and all these people are having these results. So I'm like, yeah, but that's still, I don't know. So anyways, yeah. So this is very different than like, hey, I'm going to be keto or vegan or paleo. It's specific. It's eating very specifically to heal things that are going on in your specific body for a certain chapter of time. So it's not like I need to be eating this way forever, potentially, but for right now, it's been amazing.
Yes. Well, let's take that a step further too, right? Like keto is very healing for the people that need it. In fact, it was started initially with people that had seizure disorders, epilepsy, right? And so when they found is, and to emphasize further on the gut-brain axis, right? It decreased inflammation. Well, what are the foods, right? You're limiting processed carbs. Right? And so when you look at the key issue there, you're limiting processed foods. So going back to for the AIP, yes, you're limiting the common triggers, but you're also taking it a step further, right? So let's talk about things such as tomatoes, right? They're known as nightshades, or beans, right? They are healthy, but just they produce an inflammatory reaction for your body at this time, right? And so that's why we're taking it a step further and limiting certain nuts and seeds and certain tomatoes, like vegetables and stuff, but
Peppers.
yes, right. But for a period of time, right? And I remember when we were talking back and forth messaging, you're like, okay, I know this is like, do I need to strictly stop this? And I'm like, well, it's personalized, right? Like, for instance, you have the wrong type of coffee, right? Like a lot of people are exposed to coffee. Did you know that there is a right type of coffee and things that are not toxic to you? So when you put it into perspective, the quality and it's personalized. So yes, you don't have to be like strict, okay, completely cut everything out and just stick to like real whole foods and on this list. It's what works for you, right? So it gives you the leeway and you're listening to your body and it's responding to you. You're like you said, you're clear-minded, but you didn't cut off coffee, right? That's one of the things, but it was
So
the right type of coffee.
that, yeah, I think that's important to talk about. I mean, also the one that's going to work for you is the one you can actually do.
Exactly.
So I think that's also really important on your health journey is baby steps. I mean, one, I do think if you have a certain amount of pain associated with whatever you're going through, pain is one of our greatest teachers and it's a huge motivator. Like for me, it has been challenging to eat this way, but because I had so much pain associated with the way I was feeling and all the different things I've tried, I'm like, I am sticking to this. And I'm really, really proud of myself. And I mean, I felt right away from day one. I was like, oh, I'm starting to feel better. Like this feels different in my system. So it gave me that momentum and motivation, which I think momentum is huge on any health journey. And that's another big thing I think is when you're going to put in the work, I think a lot of people, let me know if you resonate with this as you're listening, like you want to know that what you're doing is working. And I think, whether it's like buying money on supplements or if it is challenging to eat a certain way, I think so many times in my life, I tried all these different diets, especially like fasting is hard. Like, so if I'm going to be fasting, I want to know that it's for a specific reason. I'm going to get results doing it. And I think what happens for a lot of people is they do try these different workout plans or meal plans and they don't see results. And then it just gets really discouraging because you're like, man, that's when you start to lose hope and it really sucks. And that's why I'm really excited about what we're doing. I am that person that's tried a bunch of things and I am that person that knows a lot about health and wellness. And even now with AI, like AI can be super helpful, but I'll just say this. I was using AI to help me on my journey and I was, asking it to act like a health professional and an autoimmune specialist and hormone specialist. And it gave me really great recommendations, but it didn't tell me to do AIP. Like I would have never known that. And I would have kept just trying these different supplements that maybe helped a little bit. But I think that's when it comes down to, even with AI, still like working with professionals and having that accountability and that support. And especially someone like you that's so loving and nurturing, it's like, it's such a game changer. But yes, so the only thing I really didn't do was I knew I really still wanted to have coffee. But
Mhm.
I also knew the difference between, for people listening, coffee, just like anything, every supplement is not the same. Coffee is not the same. Like it's very different. If you, my coffee that I have is like all organic, it's mold free, toxin free, and it's full of a bunch of really beautiful medicinal mushrooms like reishi and chaga and turkey tail and all that stuff. So 100%, if I just went to Starbucks and had coffee, I feel crappy. Like, because that coffee is not organic, it's not mold free, it's not toxin free. It's probably causing more inflammation in your body. So anyways, yeah. So overall, baby steps, don't lose
Yes.
hope, and know the difference between the things that you're taking in, like just like we talked about in the last call, the difference between, not all meat is the same. Like farmed fish versus wild caught fish, or grass fed, grass finished meat versus not. Like it's causes such a huge difference in the system. Can you talk a little bit about that so people understand, like why, like what is the difference and how does it affect someone's body if you're eating kind of like commercialized meat versus organic, grass fed, grass finished?
Oh my goodness, yes. And that goes back to like the quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And reading the ingredients simply,
Yeah.
knowing where your food comes from. I mean, if before I learned everything, I'm sure at some point, even you, as much as knowledge you have gained, it gets confusing, right? Like even talk about coffee. Wait, there's good coffee, bad coffee. What organic, pasture raised, range free, like what? Right? It gets confusing.
Yes.
But I think if you follow these guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
know where your food is coming from. Yes. So, kind of backtracking on coffee, yes, the poor quality will increase your acidity, it'll increase toxins, and that's the one you want to stay away from when trying to control your inflammation, right? Any of your inflammation, right? And of course, don't throw in like creams, right? You got to be careful of that. And then that's why it's
Creams or sugars.
exactly. And so AI won't tell you how to get through these safely and still be compliant with your protocol, right?
Yeah.
And so now when we go to let's start with meats, right?
Yes.
So yes, there is a big difference. If you look at the inflammatory markers, right? So when we look at omega-3 versus omega-6, right? It should be balanced, but if it's off balance, usually omega-6 will throw you into a more pro-inflammatory state. And so when you look at conventionally raised meat, that's where the difference is. So if you look at grass-fed, organic, raised well, then it's actually helpful. You can get great quality meat, and it's absorbable, and it has a low inflammatory marker. It's actually beneficial. So that's where it comes in. So you want to opt for grass-fed. So when you look at the different labels, you want to opt for grass-fed, and that is the best one to go. Because if you say pasture-raised, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're grass-fed.
Mm.
And that makes a difference again in the inflammatory markers and the quality of vitamins. So it's absorbable. And so when people have this controversy, well, red meat is going to cause cardiovascular disease, right? Well,
Mm.
maybe if you have the conventionally raised one, because it goes back to that mechanism of being pro-inflammatory.
Mm.
But in moderation, you want to have variety, right? You want to make sure you have good wild caught fish, right? Because they have a better omega-3 ratio. And then, of course, other benefits. But then you also look at grass-fed beef. And if you look at like bison, those are naturally filled with nutrients, lots of good sources of protein, and the way that they eat naturally and are raised, also good. So if you look at the quality, even organic chicken, right? As long as they're fed like vegetarian feed, you just want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you know where your food comes from. And
And
even
what
further,
they ate,
right?
because
Huh?
whatever they ate, what
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
ate, because whatever they ate is what you're eating. So if
Yeah.
they're fed soy and corn, but you're allergic to soy or corn, and we all know that soy and corn is also more inflammatory, then you're getting that into your system. So even though you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm eating chicken, well, what's in the chicken? So
Exactly. We'll
yeah,
even take that even eggs, right? So
yeah.
that's why with eggs, you want to opt for not just free range. You want to do the yes, free, sorry, scratch that. You
Yeah.
want to go for you want to look at the labels, right? If they say cage free, well, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they're pasture raised, meaning that they're free to roam. That's what you want. You want
Mhm.
to look for eggs that are, yes, organic is good, but you want to look for pasture range free range, so then you know it's good quality. And
Yeah.
and here's another thing. If you cage in all those animals, they're going to be depressed. And guess what? Their quality of eggs that they produce, you're going to
That's
eat that.
good. Yeah, no, it's so true. Well, and even, before this, we were talking about, kind of diving into so I am a person, like, I love movement. I love working out. And oftentimes before we started working together, I was in a state where I'm like, if I don't have coffee or like a pre-workout or like stimulants, I felt so depleted and like my energy levels were so low. So without those, I felt like I couldn't get myself to go, just to honestly to function. So now I'm already feeling so different after eating this way. But still I was asking Dr. Mina, like, okay, well, if I want to do some sort of pre-workout or some sort of thing that's going to help me have energy, if I do feel like my energy levels are low throughout the day and say I have a lot on my plate, like before I had showed her like this pre-workout I was taking that, and we're not talking about any sort of brands today, but just actual ingredients to look out for. So especially for me right now, because I'm on the AIP protocol, things like natural flavors or sucralose or super high levels of, like, this has like 200 milligrams of caffeine, androgenose in it. Like that would be that would not be good for me. That would not be good for me on this diet. And or things like, I know a lot of some of the protein powders have like different gums in it, or even like almond milk or coconut milk. There's a lot of these different kind of gums in it that can also be very confusing. So you're like, wait, I have a collagen protein powder, so it's great. Or I'm drinking almond or coconut milk, so it's better. Than if you look at the ingredients and it's a bunch of gums and fillers and stuff like that. Those are also inflammatory. Yeah, would love to. And again, I don't want to overwhelm people. If you're listening to this and you're like, it's so confusing, I can't do it, I want to turn it off. I hope that you stay with us, because baby steps, like, take it in baby steps, and know that you can ask Dr. Remina any questions that you want on the journey. But really educating yourself. I think it's taking, like, we don't learn this stuff in school. We're not usually learning it at home. Like, where are we learning this stuff? And that's why we're so passionate about bringing this, and also creating a community that will be starting soon, especially in that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so much of how we eat affects the way that we feel. And like Dr. Remina says, the gut-brain axis that affects our mental health. Like, it blows my mind when people talk about, they don't think that nutrition interplays with your mental health. When I'm like, okay, I am living proof of that, because a couple weeks ago, my mental health was not great, and it would go like this. Like, I know tools and strategies like meditation and yoga and mindfulness and emotional release techniques that to help me if I'm feeling that way. But when you're fatigued and everything feels like overwhelming because your body is super inflamed, like, that's affecting your mental health. And I feel like I just feel like my whole system can handle so much more now, like just the regular stress of life, because my whole system feels turned on. That to me is proof that, like, yes, what you eat affects how you feel, and it affects not only your mental health, but just your whole well-being.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And let's emphasize baby steps, right?
Yes.
This is baby steps, and that's so important. Even if you take away one pointer, that's good. And then you could just listen to this later on a replay,
Yeah.
but it's baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the key thing there is also, you were listening to your body. You knew something was off. And instead of trying to throw stimulants or anything to like giving you energy, you actually naturally found your energy by removing things that were triggering you. And yes, diet is one of those. Something else I wanted to also emphasize is the specific lifestyle. And we could dive in deeper to different lifestyles, including, you'd think you're working out healthy, but is it the right one for your body? So
Yes.
when
Let's
you,
talk about that.
yeah, exactly. So when you're looking at supplements, everyone is going to be at a different place, right? But I think the key takeaway is, when you're looking at supplements, similar to food, right? Because food is medicine, or it can work against you, right? So supplements are exactly what it is. It's supplements to get you through for that moment of time that you can't get from food or other lifestyle, right? And so when you look at quality, some of the ingredients you read out are hidden, right? And sometimes there's sugar. Like, why do supplements need sugar? And that's
So crazy.
Right? And so, and another thing with protein powders, some of them, there's data that shows some protein powders and other powders have traces of metal. So you got to be cautious of that. And when you're an AIP, the best protein is whey protein, right? It has the best amino acid profile, the best amount of type of protein you need to absorb. But in this setting, it's actually inflammatory for you because whey is from dairy, right? From cows.
Yeah.
So
And
you want
that's
to look at
specifically for me right now, or anyone that's on an AIP protocol or trying to heal a leaky gut or autoimmune stuff. That's just something to be aware of. Again, we need to get rid of these labels that like, this is healthy or not healthy. It's like, well, where are you at in your journey? Because it might be healthy for someone, but maybe not so healthy for someone else, given whatever they're going through. So I think that is just key takeaway from this one.
Exactly. Yes. So, I mean, that kind of gives you insight. You want to get a third party tested, high quality, any types. And then, basic takeaway. If you're looking at just multivitamins, right? Because those are the common ones to lean on. Well, you want to look at methylated B vitamins because that is the right form to absorb. So even choosing supplements, you want to choose third party tested and make sure you read the label that there's no random fillers in there.
Yes.
And I would say that's the basic takeaway. And just start with there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And if
then,
you have any questions given supplements, definitely reach out to Dr. Remina because she can help you understand which brands are better than others, or which are how to know if it's third party tested, or if there's chemicals or fillers that you need to be aware of. Because again, if you're newer on the health journey, that all this might feel super overwhelming. And it's like, how do I even know? Like, how do I even know? But also just to know, again, for so much of my journey, I was trying to save money. So I opted for cheaper vitamins and supplements. But what I didn't know was that those cheaper vitamins or supplements, one, I probably wasn't absorbing them. Two, they probably had a bunch of, usually if they're super cheap, they usually have fillers and chemicals and stuff, and they're not third party tested. It's not to say that you need to go buy the most expensive one. That's not like the answer either, but it really is knowing a lot of times you do get what you pay for, and quality stuff usually does cost a little bit more because it really takes more to produce it. So yeah, I just think, and if you're going to buy something, wouldn't you actually want it to be working in your system, and especially not counterproductive to what you want? If you're taking a vitamin and it's actually making you more inflamed, that's not worth your money.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's already so much information people got out of just the first few minutes, right? I mean, you're looking at diet and then what type of supplements. Let's talk a little bit about more on the impact of lifestyle, right? Like you mentioned exercise. So what's one thing you changed? And I can talk about a little bit more of how that affects your system.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I have been, like I've told you on our last call, on a journey to understand how to eat, work out, sleep, base my career, my lifestyle, all to balance my hormones. So especially for women who have cycles, I think that was huge for me, because before I would just, the messaging I got was, you have to work out super hard every single day. Because that's a lot of times what you get in kind of mass media marketing, right? But then learning like, no, depending again, the power of when. If depending on different phases of my cycle, I was learning how to honor those different phases. And especially in luteal phase and menstruation phase, of a lot more workouts like yoga and Pilates and walking, and not pushing myself so hard, versus more when I'm in the earlier phases of the cycle, like follicular and ovulation, doing more intense strength training and HIIT workouts and things like that, and sprints. But yeah, that's been game changer for me. So if you have more questions about that, leave that below. We could do a whole separate conversation just on how to understand your cycles and how to work out based on that, because I think that is huge. I know that so many women, myself included, so much of my issues because I was over stressing my body so much, which was causing more inflammation and probably more leaky gut, and just not being able to absorb what I was eating, supplements or food. And so, so yeah, just making sure that, I mean, for me, lifestyle wise, that I am very strict about, like, I do not go to my phone in the morning. Like, I do some form of meditation or journaling or mindfulness practice, as well as some form of, for me, movement. And actually really now it's been more of like, okay, buddy, talking to my body and saying, okay, buddy, what do you need today? Like, what do you want to do today? What do you need today? And balancing that with challenging myself enough, but then also giving myself enough rest. Like if I'm exhausted, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to do a walk today, because where in the past I would have forced myself to go to the gym and do a super hard workout. And then I felt more exhausted, then I would take more pre-workout, and then I would feel worse, and then I wouldn't sleep as well. And it was just terrible. And I know so many people live in that mindset that they're like, if I don't go to the gym and do a hard workout every day, then I'm like a failure, and or that I'm not doing it right. And that's just so flawed. So give yourself a lot of grace. I've been there. I feel you. But really, yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me has been healthy boundaries with my phone and social media, making sure that I'm having that mindfulness practice, especially in the morning, and something before I go to bed, probably throughout the day too, in between things, you know, because sometimes it can be like, oh, okay, I need to just like take a couple deep breaths before I hop on this call. You know, like even that can be such a game changer. So yeah, that's some things for me, but I'm curious for you, Dr. Remina, what you would recommend for people out there who are struggling to find how to know how to work out for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And these are all very common too, right?
Yes.
Even myself, I was guilty at this. And especially thinking about high performers being women too, our bodies also need permission to rest. And I
Yes.
think that's okay, especially with as you shift into each different hormonal phase, be it monthly, be it in the decade, just give yourself permission to rest. Because if you think about it, yes, working out is great, but if you're already stressed, let me give an example of what that looks like. Okay, so you did mention work out hard at the gym. People think that running is good for you, right? So running or even just doing high intensity interval training, CrossFit, right? Are good, but if you're in the burnout phase already, or if you're feeling exhausted, like you're already feeling off, what that does is, I'm going to go back to the cortisol talk, right?
Yeah.
Because if y'all missed it, the first one, I talked about that. We talked about it, but it goes back into releasing more of that stress response, basically. So your body is taking something that could be good, exercise, meaning running or just doing high intensity, but in the place that your body is at, all your hormones or your stress balance is off. So something simple, seemingly healthy as running, seemingly healthy as hitting the gym hard, pushes your body over the other direction. And so, like you said, you will feel it. It'll throw off your focus the rest of the day. And then, of course, that ties into your hormone balance,
Yes.
brain fog, everything, right? So how did you balance that, right? Exactly what you did. Your body needed to rest. And so maybe for that period of time, do yoga. Yoga is actually good too. It's an actual, depending on what type, if you want to do like hot yoga, vinyasa, like whatever your flavor is, yin yoga, whatever it is, you want to do something to rebalance that nervous system. And so for the long run, you are doing better. And so, yes, your body composition will change as well for the better for that period of time, because I'm sure there's women out there or men who, if you're listening, you notice your weight isn't budging, your body composition isn't budging, and you're hitting the gym hard. Well, this might be it, because you're stressing your body out. Cortisol, that hormone, stress hormone, makes you lose muscle because it breaks it down. It's a stress response, right? You need to use the energy. Basically, your body is fighting, so you need energy, and you're holding on to inflammation and fat. And so that's why it's important to take that moment to pause, walk, perfect, go outside, walk if you can, or just meditate, breath work. So that is my take on that point of life, if that's where you're at. So
Yeah.
type of exercise, yes.
I think that's so key. And I just, you know, for anyone listening, again, I know sometimes it's really hard because our habits, if you've gotten to a place where you're like, I've forced myself to go to the gym and that's just what I do and that's who I am, sometimes it can feel scary to do something different because it's been so wired in you. Like I know some people in my life who, and myself included, in the past, it was like, no, like I have to, if I don't work out, then I'm going to gain weight and then I'm not going to be okay. And then I'm going to be a failure. Like it was just a crazy spiral. And so if you're listening, if you're having any of those kinds of feelings, it's really like letting go and really deeply understanding that if you're over stressing your body, it's counterproductive. So that time at the gym that you just spent is counterproductive to your goals. Like if you're trying to lose weight or feel better or have better hormones or mood, it's like reframing and unlearning all this stuff that we've been blasted with from media that isn't, it's just no longer serving us. It's just no longer serving us, and getting back to like really understanding that if you're super stressed out, something like and that everyone's super different too. Like I know sometimes I had been super stressed out, but like going to a boxing class just made me feel like something about it was like, this feels so good for me and this is what I needed. But other times I was like, no, I literally don't have any energy and I can tell I'm overstressed. So like, I need to go to yoga today, but it's just really like really reframing it to what is your goal, and is what you're doing helping you get closer, or is it counterproductive? Because if it's counterproductive, then what are we doing?
Yeah. And that's an excellent tool, coming down to really listening to what you need, reframing, because that is sometimes you're your own worst critic, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I'll say this too. At one point in my life, when I was probably really OCD about working out, and I was so scared if I didn't work out that I would like gain a bunch of weight, but I couldn't, my body wasn't losing weight. Like, my doctor at the time was like, your cortisol's so high. He's like, no more cardio for you. Like, you cannot do any more cardio. All you can do is yoga and Pilates and like slow strength training. And I was terrified. But I was like, okay, I've had so much pain around this. I have to make a big change in my life. And I'm not kidding you. Like within 2 weeks, my body dropped so fast because I let it like get out of that super high cortisol response level. So just like testimony to like, it's not always about doing a super high intensity workout for weight loss. Like that's not accurate anymore.
It's true.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you look at what's really beneficial, it is you can do strength training and it doesn't have to be high intensity, right?
Yes.
The muscle, you could still build muscle. And same thing as even yoga and Pilates, that is a way of training with strength. It's your own body strength, but then also you get the benefits of the mind body connection too. So there's so much strength in that too.
Such a game changer. Okay, well, we've covered so much today. So this is interesting, Dr. Mina, especially as now in eating in this on the AIP protocol, like I said, my body's turning back on, and I've actually done really well recently with sleeping. Like getting good sleep was not really the issue. Sometimes I felt like I actually couldn't get out of bed because I just like slept so much and I was just so fatigued all the time. Whereas like, okay, now my body's turned back on. I was so like on yesterday, I could barely sleep. So now I'm like, okay, well, that's not good either. And I do have different sleep supplements that I've taken. There's something called Kill Switch that I really love. I'd love your take on that. Also magnesium I take before bed every night, which I know a lot of people are deficient in. I don't know if we had those on my labs or not. I think my levels were really good. I can't remember. As well as ashwagandha, that cortisol supplement that I showed you that I'm taking. And then obviously lifestyle. I wear blue blockers at night. And I also like, as soon as the sun goes down, the lights go down. My husband, Emilio, trained me in that. That was really hard for me at first. I thought he was crazy. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I just wasn't used to that. But yeah, like making sure when the sun goes down, the lights go down in our house. So we have dim lighting. And a lot of times we do like for us, especially as filmmakers, like a good show or a good like movie in the evening is like our reward of like the day. Also like our cuddle time. And so something I look forward to. So also the intention behind what you're doing, I think really matters. Big difference between chapters of my life when I would like binge shows as an escape and I couldn't ever turn it off and I'd stay up way too late. And I think that's it's a intentionality behind what you're doing, I think is very important, which is a whole other conversation. But so yeah, making sure that eating blue blockers, lights go down, and doing our best to have them like screens off by 11 so that we can like go to bed and like have at least 30 minutes to an hour. Cause usually like, if I'm being honest, we don't get to bed till like around midnight. But we've also worked hard on eating earlier, However, I will say this on the AIP protocol, because it's harder for me to get enough nutrition into my system. I've noticed, because I'm eating so clean, that well, yeah, I love your take on eating before bed, because I know there's some people that are like, oh, don't eat 3 to 4 hours before you go to sleep. But then I've heard other people that are like, no, if you have protein before you go to sleep, it really helps with building muscle and maintaining muscle. So yeah, I'd love your take on all that stuff.
Yeah. So this, instead of getting to the nitty and gritty, because that's where people can get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yes. So there is to get good sleep and for metabolism. And if you decide to do a circadian fast, right? That's just, you want to give your body enough time to rest and digest and not interfere with sleeping. But again, you're eating real food. And yes, it's a shift. So you want to make sure you are hitting your nutrients for the day. I think it's safe to stop eating before bed 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Because you don't want it to interrupt your circadian rhythm.
Okay.
Again, sometimes it changes. So when you look at the different levels of your cortisol curve, sometimes you need a little snack because cortisol being too high can also drain your blood sugar. So to sustain that energy, at least until what your body is doing at this time, right? And so this is where it goes into the individual. If your cortisol level is so high and you're working on balancing it out, and your blood sugar drops because of that, then it's probably beneficial to have a healthy snack, be it protein, so it sustains it instead of just empty carbs, right? And so in that scenario, I think it's okay just to make sure your blood sugar stays stable. But in general, you don't want to eat right before bed. So that's good because it will interrupt also like your quality of sleep. And then with blue screens, I'm so glad to hear that you have the blue light blockers. And actually, our mutual friend, he got me on screen blockers, so I wear those. But
Yes.
the key there is when you have blue screens, it interrupts the portion of your brain that should be turned off. So it is important to rest and clear out the toxins and just improve your brain function and sleep. So that's why you want to avoid blue screens before bed. That's number one. So that's awesome. You're doing that. Helps your quality of sleep, getting enough sleep. And then when you wake up, not looking at your screen. Because the other point is, yes, it throws off your wake sleep cycle. So when you go straight for your phone, and this could be an easy takeaway, 5 minutes after waking up, don't look at the phone. 5 minutes, start with that. That's
Yeah.
an easy goal, right?
Yes.
And because what happens is if you look at your screen, there's two opposite hormones, melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, and cortisol, which is your wake hormone. You want it to slowly raise up when you wake up and the melatonin to go down. But when you reach for the phone, it shoots up your cortisol and it throws off the rest of your hormones, your sleep-wake cycle. And what they find is, yes, if you avoid it, and maybe you can hit the first daylight, the sun hits your eyes, your retina, and it sends a response and it balances it out naturally.
Oh, I
So
love that you said that, because that's also another thing I've really worked hard to do is like as soon as I wake up, going downstairs and seeing natural sunlight. And I think that's a huge takeaway for anybody. Like I know so many people that don't know that, don't do that. And even just that one little lifestyle shift can be such a game changer, that just like as soon as you wake up, get outside, get sunlight on your body, like on your skin, on your face, take a couple deep breaths. Like
yes.
even that one shift is so powerful.
Yes, and the breath, exactly. Just breathe outside, focus on nourishing yourself because that's going to set the tone for the day. And scientifically, right? Like, if you're going to breathe and you focus on the present, even if you practice gratitude, it
Yes.
rewires your brain, that neuroplasticity, right? And so these are simple takeaways that you could just do today.
Yes. No, I love that. I mean, for me, having a gratitude practice in the morning is game changer. That like I said, I'm pretty good about like, I need like a solid hour before I look at my phone.
That's great.
Because I just know that especially before social media, because if I'm like, oh, I should look at this one thing real quick. I'm just check this one message.
Doom scroll.
It's just a time suck, and you like, oh, this one link, this, and all those platforms, even emails, like it's wired they are scientifically wired to keep you there. And so it is it really is creating such healthy boundaries, and everyone has to have a different, you have to do it for you. It's very personalized, but I just know like getting outside, taking a couple deep breaths, thinking about things I'm grateful for. A lot of times for me, it's like writing out things I'm grateful for because it helps slow my brain down when I like write it out. But like you said, I love getting the science mind behind it, saying like there is science behind it that shows that that changes the way that your brain is operating, and therefore like the rest of your day, just by those simple shifts.
Yeah, and even a step further, right? So if we look at other lifestyle modifications. So, a practice for meditation or mindfulness, it doesn't have to be specifically like a religion or a spiritual practice, but even the action of finding presence, breath work, or anything that does that, it changes your brain waves in your nervous system and rewires your brain, right? And so that goes into, and I love that because it's simple practices, whether it's breath work, meditation, or writing in your journal, but that also goes into what else can you do for a holistic approach.
Yes. Well, I know there's so, when we say breath work, I know there's many different kinds of breath work. There's like, there's box breathing, there's holotropic breathing, there's like breath work classes you can go to. And, you know, again, I don't want to overwhelm people because that's a whole other rabbit hole. But I mean, even if you're just like, if you are interested in breath work, there, even if you just Google like free breath work things, there's so many free ones on YouTube as well as great paid ones as well. But even just like box breathing, like breathing in for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding that for 4, doing a couple of rounds of that, or just even taking really deep breaths for like 5 minutes, like, or 60 seconds, even like it's such a game changer.
Definitely. Yes. And then another aspect that people kind of overlook are the quality of our relationships. And I know y'all are big on that too. But the
Yes.
quality of relationships, do they drain you? Is it a gain? Those are, they take a toll on your mental health. They take a toll on your entire body. But also a step further, when you look at the blue zones, right? When you look at the quality of life, you see that they have, and for those that don't know, so the blue zones, there's a couple areas of the world, and there's only one in the United States, Loma Linda, California, but the rest of them, isn't that crazy?
So crazy.
So like Costa Rica, there's Greece, Japan, there's a couple of places in the world, but what they found was they have a longer quality of life. Like meaning that there are people that live into like their hundreds and they're functioning, but they found that it's the quality of relationships, a sense of purpose, and that goes a long way. Community, and that's why it's important to embrace that, the power of community and the right relationships.
So
Hear what
huge.
you're doing with that.
Yeah, I mean, so huge. And this is one of the big reasons why Amelia and I started Relationship Renegades, was because of those things that were like, man, like healthy relationships is such a huge part of health and longevity that a lot of people don't focus on. You know, it's first is like, what workouts are you doing? I'm like, like
Right.
yes, that matters, but like there's so much more. Like there's so much more. And I mean, I definitely, yeah, it would be really cool to do a whole other conversation with you, me, and Emilio just on healthy relationships. But I feel like, you know, for me, I can't say enough of really investing my time and my energy in learning how to have healthy, supportive relationships and different tools of communication and healthy boundaries and emotional intelligence, like shifted everything for me. Because for most of my life, I didn't know a lot of those skills. Like I wasn't taught those skills. And I wondered why I always felt this sense of just underlying anxiety all the time. And a lot of it was because I didn't know those skills. And so, and because most all of life is about relationships. And if we don't know how to authentically communicate with someone, or how to authentically be ourselves, or how to create a safe space within our body for our soul to live, like for most of my life, I felt like it wasn't a safe space. We talk about relationships, even the relationship you have with yourself being the most important relationship. I didn't have a good relationship with me. So like, how was I supposed to have a good relationship with anybody else? And I didn't know how to create a safe space for me to be, because I was so hypercritical and judgmental of myself. And learning how, like, what does it really look like for me to like really love me? like in a very unconditional way. Like that was a process, but one of the best things I think anybody could invest their time into, because it changes everything. Even when you create that, when I learned how to create a safe space for me, it was such a different relationship with food. It was such a different relationship with working out. It was such a different relationship with other people, because I was no longer doing things to shame myself or beat myself up or try to be perfect or try to get love. It was from this place of, I am doing all of this because I want to love me, because I want to nourish me. And that's so different. Like, so I was thinking about this actually when, uh, just how different I felt on the AIP protocol. Cause I'm like, wow. I remember, especially when I was in like my early 20s, everything was about like eating to stay thin or to lose weight. And the pressure that I felt, and the guilt or shame that I felt if I ate something that I knew wasn't good for me, or like the guilt or shame that I felt if I didn't work out, or you know what I mean, just all this different kind of stuff. Whereas now it's like, just I it's just so different. Like it's so, I don't have that at all. It's more like, no, everything I'm doing is to nourish me. And I think the amount of stress that you feel in your body, or the cortisol that happens just with that intentionality of like, what's the intention behind what you're eating, how you're working out, your relationship that you have with your partner, like the intention behind it could be a game changer, you know?
Yeah. And I love what you just said about that self-love, that inner talk,
Yeah.
because that is one of the most important relationships, is your self relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like from a scientific perspective? Because I know, one of the things that Amelia and I talk about a lot is the 80-year long Harvard study that they did that really showcased how healthy relationships was one of the biggest factors when it came to living the longest, healthiest quality of life, when they studied, people, especially in like blue zones and stuff like that. Um, can you help explain to people like what's happening biologically if you're in maybe an unhealthy or unsupportive or kind of toxic relationship?
Yeah. And I think this is such an important question, because the feelings that you feel, like you're saying, that inner anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
that is a red flag in your body. So going back to your fight or flight response, your body doesn't know the difference between actually being chased by a bear, being in that stress response, versus interpreting it. So what does that mean in relationships, right? Whether it's something inner trauma that you felt, right? Maybe from childhood or maybe from previous relationships, or in your partner, maybe they had a trauma response, or they just don't hold space for you to express your, a good example would be male and femininity and masculinity, right? If there's no space to hold, to share each other's emotions and speak openly without judgment and shame, then you're going to set off that response, right? You're going to be in fear. The one person or the other, you'll be fearing, oh my goodness, what if they have an outburst on me? Or what if they're cheating? Or what if I upset them, right? Like your
Mm-hmm.
body's interpreting that as a stress response. And so automatically that's going to shoot up your nervous system, your cortisol response, right? And then you feel it in your body, you're going to detach. And, that's not a fruitful relationship. Whereas vice versa, you have a very healthy relationship, you have that calming feeling because it's bringing down that stress response and is producing the feel good hormones, right? Like you hear
Yeah.
the terms like dopamine, serotonin, you feel oxytocin, right? Well, those are just simple chemical messengers, right? Messages in your body saying your body's safe. And those naturally give your body a high, and it produces a good response for your body. And scientifically, it wires your body in your biochemistry. And that's what gets you a little bit longer life, right? It's the healthy bonding, the healthy hormones that are released in the neurotransmitter. So scientifically, that actually is proof that you need to make sure you have good relationships. Even
Yeah.
going back to like birth, right? When you first bond, when you're a mom and you have a baby and you're bonding, you have that skin to skin, but you also have, you're staring at the eyes and oxytocin is produced. You have that bonding, the sense of security. So even that's a healthy relationship there, right? Just
Yeah.
mother and child. So it goes
So true.
back. Yeah.
And there's just I mean, there's a whole deep dive. We'll do a whole other, conversation on just relationships and how to navigate that. Cause I think it's a lot. It can feel overwhelming and stressful if you're in a situation where you're like, man, I'm not in a healthy, supportive relationship. What do I do? Like, how do I navigate this? And there's so many things we could talk about, but I think for me, really, really understanding healthy boundaries, like healthy boundaries is huge. Like how to say yes and no, and when to say yes and no, and how to create a safe space within yourself and for another person to have challenging conversations, because we're always going to need to have challenging conversations. And if we can't have challenging conversations, then that's just building up underlying anxiety, which is causing cortisol, which is causing our system to not absorb our food anymore. And then it's like, it's just the whole counterintuitive thing. But it's baby steps, taking it one step at a time. Join us on the journey so that we can help you along the way. And again, in this community that Dr. Remina and I want to build together, we're wanting to focus on all that, creating a really holistic approach to help anybody that wants to go on this journey with us, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, that you can ask us both questions, that we can do meditations together, that we can do relationship conversations together. We can talk about supplementation and lifestyle and different food plans according to whatever your specific body is working on, and all really, especially in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, but knowing that like our mental health is connected to our emotional health, that's connected to our fitness and nutrition and lifestyle health. It's all connected. So if you're interested in that, definitely message either of us about it. Ask comments or questions below. We're just here to help and support on the journey, and knowing that like none of us, we're not supposed to do it alone. I think that's the biggest thing. I think I struggled trying to navigate this by myself for so long. In meeting Dr. Remina, it changed everything for me. And I just want as many people as possible to have that same gift, and that we can all do it together, because it's so different when you have those people that are supporting you, that are holding you accountable, that again, even in joining this group with us, that you get all that oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine just by having great, healthy, supportive people in your life. And especially if you're in a place where you're like, man, where do I find healthy, supportive relationships? You'll find it with us. You'll find it in our group.
And I love, we rise together. That's seriously going to be a game changer.
Yes, that's the slogan. Together we rise.
Yes.
Together we rise. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. Nor do we want you to. We want to do it together. So thank you so much, Dr. Remina. Thank you so much for anyone that listens to this. And again, comment, question below, share this with anyone you think might need to hear it. It could literally change and or save their life, as I know that it's just so confusing out there. And hopefully we are able to really give some really targeted, specific help to people that have questions, and an invitation to more support and more community and connection and resources and more personalized approach to health and wellness and well-being. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Remina. I'll see you on the next one. See you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.